Rigetti computing stock is trading at just $11.82, but this tiny quantum computing stock could be one of the best asymmetric bets in tech. While everyone's talking about NVIDIA or AI agents, Rigetti is quietly building some infrastructure for the next wave of computing. Now, NVIDIA invests in them, but you got to ask yourself, is it overhyped or is it a solid quantum computing stock? Now, guys, let's take a look. If you want to watch me trade live every day at market open, get real-time analysis, now's the perfect time to get into StockMate. We are running a sale. When you grab lifetime access, you'll get a free StockMate t-shirt as a bonus. How cool is that? So don't miss out. Click that second link down below if you'd like to join me at market open tomorrow. So as we can see here, we have a trade we did on Rigetti earlier today, about a $250 gain, just a small trade on about a $4,000 position. Now, I know some of us are really happy about Big Bear AI in its massive surge we've seen, covering it from $2. Now it's up to over, I think, $9 today. So that was a big move as well. The market started off a little negative and then recovered. What we can see here is that Rigetti stock is holding this level. It started to recover after what was this big sell-off down here from the NVIDIA CEO saying that quantum computing is much further away. We've seen a big recovery on Rigetti, basically from the initial point back in November of $2. It went up to $21, and then we could see the sell down to $5.50. And then to its current price point, it's recovered about 100% since then. It's been about a month since the bottom of that crash, and now we're starting to get into some new territory. The nice thing about Rigetti is just from a technical standpoint, we can look at the fundamentals, the news as well, and some financials, as well as some institutional investors. And also, let's talk about some of the fidelity and how they're improving their accuracy in their computations. But before we get into that, just looking at the technical analysis, you can see it has been getting rejected by this 200-day moving average, and it did get a little bit rejected by it today. We like to see that it's kind of pushing up above this EMA, that blue line, but that green line, that 200-day, is acting as a resistance. And oftentimes it acts as a resistance when it's bearish and acts as a support, as you can see right here, when it's more bullish. So a lot of times when you get this break, when you start to see this crossover of the RSI and MACD, start to see some push up, you'd expect to see, if it breaks above this 200-day moving average, we could be quite bullish, especially with this previous support here and previous resistance. Tomorrow we'll be watching. If it breaks up above here, that could potentially be a very nice entry for a trade to swing up to $15. Yeah, that's right, $15, over 30% increase potentially. And let me just make sure, is that right? Is that a 30% increase? Yeah, 30% increase basically to $15. And that could happen, but right now we're at this previous resistance and support, and we'll see if it breaks above. That's kind of how the technicals look. We like to see this recovery. The other thing we can drop in here is the Fibonacci. If we go to the bottom of this trend, which I'm going to bring it up a little bit because I think this was an overreaction, honestly, with this crash. I'm going to bring it kind of like right here. Let's just bring it right here. And let's go to where we could potentially see this. Let's say not higher highs, but maybe this level right here. What does that look like? We're still waiting for a little more confirmation. It's actually funny. It looks like that golden ratio, the 0.618, according to Fibonacci. I didn't plan this, but it actually looks like it does need to push up a little bit, as we mentioned, to confirm it's going to break above that level. And in this golden ratio between, let's call it 1180 and 1350, could indicate a buy if we want to see it get back to that between $15 and $18 price point. So a little bit more technical than we normally get on Rigetti, but I do think that it's right at this critical level. We'll see if it breaks up. If it does, I'd be fairly bullish on it in the near term. But right now, expect some volatility. We'll see what happens in market open tomorrow. And again, I'd love to have you guys there. It's that second link down below. Rigetti stock is changing the game with some new articles coming out. One of the things that recently came out was that their quantum machines and Rigetti, quantum machines and Rigetti, announced a successful AI-powered calibration of quantum computers. Why is this important? Well, a lot of people have said in some of our YouTube channel videos, hey, QPUs are going to replace GPUs and CPUs. But I can tell you that's not the case. In fact, GPUs and CPUs are what allow quantum computers to function properly. And quantum computers don't operate without a classical computer and without AI. And AI is one of the things, along with GPUs, with QPUs, that make it possible so that those quantum processing units can spit out an answer and then run it back through AI and be able to process those answers to then direct the quantum computer and then try and spit out more answers or more accurate answers. Here's where things get interesting. You could see that there is this article that talks about some of that integration with AI. And you can see that it says 2 companies participating in this challenge. So there is a quantum calibration challenge that was issued jointly issued by Rigetti and Quantum Machines, as hosted at the Israeli Quantum Computing Center. And here's what it says. Quantum Elements used their software to achieve high accuracy in setting up individual pairs of qubits, reaching 99.9% single qubit gate fidelity and 98.5% two-gate fidelity. So QRUs leveraged the control system to fine-tune, stick with me here, all 9 qubits simultaneously, speeding up the preparation process. You might say, Will, that's quantum computing. I don't understand what you're saying. What are you talking about? Well, this is actually a really big deal. And this happened back in December. But here's why it's such a big deal right now. It's because quantum computing, achieving a high fidelity, single qubit gate fidelity of 99%, and then 2 qubit gate of 98.5%, basically means, let me just kind of break this down. It means that quantum systems are becoming significantly more stable and reliable. And here's why this matters. See, one of the problems that they come to with quantum computers is how accurately the qubits perform operations without errors. And 99.9% qubit gate fidelity means almost perfect accuracy when manipulating individual qubits. And 98.5% is crucial because quantum computation relies on the entanglement of multiple qubits. So that requires this 2 qubit operation to be accurate. And so this means that we're going to see some more scalability and speed improvements. And as quantum computers scale, they start to be used for more real-world applications. For example, cryptography, material science, drug discovery. You know, one of the things that they were talking about, which I have the card. I keep saying I have the card, and it's somewhere on my desk. I got to find it. But I was talking with Quantinium and how they're using quantum computers. And again, you could tap into the quantum computers, Rigetti, on AWS, on Amazon. You could also use Microsoft. But one of the things that they're talking about, they're saying that they're looking at the peptide proteins in cancer strains. And that takes a lot of computing power to basically go through and find the right peptide proteins to be able to bind peptide proteins. And they're literally doing this right now, where they're finding cures and finding not just cures, but also drug discovery in how they can create vaccines for different strains of cancer that have never had vaccines before. And so that paired with, they're going to definitely use it for innovations in AI, probably material sciences, but definitely in the weather and things like that. Rigetti is in a really nice place to be integrating with AI. So when you have AI being put into these quantum computers, it essentially just means the quantum computer, it's not that they don't have this amazing processing power. A lot of these companies do, but the quantum computers that are well equipped to be able to plug into AI systems, and that AI systems can plug into quantum computers, that's when the game changes. That's when you can bring extremely complex, hard to solve problems and run them through AI and a classical computer into a quantum computer, get an answer, put it back through the AI, and continue that process. And so quantum computing is one thing, the hardware, but the software and being able to integrate with AI is a whole nother animal, and Rigetti's taking that on as well. So they're kind of full stack. If you guys search into Rigetti, they talk about the hardware, but they also talk about how it's full stack with software. And also you see Amazon AWS, so you could use Amazon AWS. I think you can also got Microsoft Azure there, and they got some free $500 credit for you to be able to use the Rigetti hardware. And they also got StrangeWorks and I believe Google Cloud. I got to double check on that. But when we look at this, there's just so many different ways that this is going to apply. The breakthroughs that they're having in reducing errors and speeding up quantum experiments and just bringing us closer to commercially viable quantum computing for Rigetti. There's other companies that are more commercial, but Rigetti especially, as they start to improve, and then you could just order a quantum computer for yourself, get your hands on quantum and go order it on the website. That's going to be a big win for not just Rigetti, but just industries in quantum technology. So that's one thing we'll be keeping an eye on. The other piece for Rigetti, and this is interesting because people don't really realize this, but there's this quantum authorization or reauthorization initiative. I kind of skewed that, but $2.7 billion in estimated funding to hit the quantum space. Some of the companies that are expected to benefit are companies like IONQ, Rigetti. You could definitely see possibly Qubits, so D-Wave, and we'll see if that plays into this role. You can see IONQ is in the conversation. If that bill passes, which it's already passed in the past, then it's going to be really good for some of these quantum computers, kind of like a stimulus. And then a lot of people think this is more speculation on my end, which it is. This is a $500 billion initiative to build AI infrastructure in the United States. The project's funded by private investments from OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank, and MGX, one of the biggest companies and supporters of quantum. When I was getting to meet with IBM executive and Microsoft executives and IONQ when I went to CES, is they basically were very heavily supported by NVIDIA and Microsoft, and that's going to play a key role in Rigetti's growth. When you look at this bill, this $500 billion, it's hard to say, but I would almost assume that a large portion of this money, not a large portion, a portion of this money, most likely a large minority, let's say, would go towards funding some quantum computing operations. You'd also see, I think it's the CEO of SoftBank, who right here, SoftBank CEO, is also pretty heavily involved in quantum. And you could see that Quantinium was one of the companies they work with, and OpenAI closely with Microsoft, that's going to play a key role. Microsoft's announced that they're not just doing third-party quantum computing and supporting some of these other companies, but they're building their own quantum computer. So that's big for Microsoft. They just announced that just this past year. In this year, they announced that they're working on their own quantum computers. And so the real world applications are becoming more clear here. And then the last thing, again, I'm always checking this list because it's institutional ownership that has to catch some attention. Go directly to NASDAQ. It says you visit this often. It literally says that on the website. BlackRock, big investor in Rigetti. Vanguard, American Assets Investment Management. You got State Street, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and these are all investments that most of them happened. They did happen within Q4 of 2024. You could see 12/31, right? Last day of the year, BlackRock dumped into Rigetti. Vanguard Group, you could see dumped into Rigetti $129 million. Is that right? Is that right? I think it's more than that. I think it actually might be 1.2 billion. I'm pretty sure it is. And then you got Goldman Sachs, you got some of these other companies, and Rigetti is going to be in a big spotlight come earnings. I'll tell you what, the earnings are definitely going to be anticipated. IBM had a $1 billion revenue from Quantum, which was the biggest revenue they've seen in Quantum in their recent earnings. You can see some of the other comparable companies. They've been kind of missing that revenue. And so we're going to see what that looks like. But the reason that we bring in the financials too, their market cap's at 2.85 billion. If you drop into a bigger, more established company like IONQ, it's up there at 9 billion nearly. So keep that in mind. Rigetti's still on the smaller market cap compared to other quantum computing companies. And so those things paired with some of these indicators, I see Rigetti as one that is at a crucial point, and that if it breaks above this level, potentially could see a lot more growth. It's pricing in, and it has been, but it's putting itself in a position to have a healthy uptrend that would be aligned with some of the exponential developments that we're seeing in AI. So see what happens. This is kind of the technical analysis. We'll see closely this 200-day moving average, how it reacts at market open tomorrow. If you guys would like to join me live in StockMate, it's the second link down below. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.